Lunch Money Lambert, Jeff Malott. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Yeah. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Kayak Bass Nation. Hey. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation, where we talk about fishing and competition. It's your boy Ox Pippin, aka Ox Fishing. Don't come over here tripping. Hey, hope you enjoy the show. Jeff Malott, Lunch Money Lambert, Lego. Hey, welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Kayak Bass Nation. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Kayak Bass Nation. Hey, welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Hope y'all had a great Monday. Good start to your work week if this is when you start it. Ryan, how you doing tonight, my friend?
I'm just getting my work week started, man.
Was it good? Good start?
Yeah, it was a good start. Yeah. It's the end of the quarter, so we have no sales that have came in yet. So I have to get a quarter's worth of sales in this week. So no pressure.
I believe in you.
Not a big deal.
Yeah, I believe in you, man. We got people sliding over on X, YouTube, Facebook. Still waiting on the Twitcher to show up, but wherever you're watching from, we appreciate you very, very much.
It's gonna be sad if he ever gets busy on a Monday and we don't have our Twitcher.
I know. Usually the Twitch folks, they slide in, say, "Hey, what's up, Twitch? I'm out. I'll catch it on the audio pod," and then they jump out of here. So
I love it.
The YouTubers stay locked in.
Come on.
Yeah, the YouTubers stay locked in. I appreciate them.
Because they win things, I think as well.
Yeah, that's right. They win things. So if you're watching on Facebook, hit the like and share. YouTube, everywhere else, just comment and like, because we're doing a Z-Man giveaway tonight. Appreciate the folks at Z-Man, and we were on top of getting your stuff out, so you will get it quick. Ryan has the shipping on lock with that.
We got the plug.
We got the plug. So, hey, man, Bassmaster Championship in the books. Classic in the books. The whole weekend in the books.
Jeff, what'd you think watching that? I don't mean to harass you, but I heard you didn't even go.
I didn't.
Oh man.
We had some circumstances. I don't know. Y'all followed Roro's story on here, probably. Mm-hmm. She had some, we won't call it bad news yet, but she had some alarming news last week. CT scan showed up a little spot on her adrenal gland that wasn't there before. So she's going down to Little Rock tomorrow to get some more scans done, get a nuke scan done and some other things. Her blood tests are looking good, but a little bit of a panic last week with the family. My son was pretty worked up. He wanted to go fishing Saturday, so I went fishing with him Saturday.
That's
helped him
That's a much better investment of time. No offense to the classic shenanigans, but that's how much better spend of the time.
We had planned to go over. Ashley Kay and I were going to go over Friday night, actually, and spend the night and then hang out Saturday. And with that going on, we stayed here. I went with him all day. Had a great time with him. Helped him kind of relax a little bit. So I hated to miss it. Traded some texts with folks. It looked like a great event. That's why we have Steve Owens in here first tonight to kind of talk about not only the kayak event, but the expo and how kayak fishing seems to be blending in nicely with Bassmaster's plan, huh?
It does. I mean, I think it went exactly how you would expect it to. Like it was a huge turnout, a ton of media coverage. You saw it all over, multiple media channels. Old Town did a great job covering their anglers, hyping that up. I think it went really well.
Yeah, very good. So we're gonna have Steven in here first. We'll get him in first because we got a lot of folks on tonight. We got a big panel of anglers on. Unfortunately, we were not able to get Drew Gregory on, the actual winner. Congrats to him for winning. I had some questions for him. I'm familiar with the water around there. I had some questions for him about how he got up to where he got to catch them. I know he is a monster about finding his way into the special spots, and obviously he did and caught some giants. So we'll try to maybe.
What he said on the interview, man, it sounded like he kind of had the river section to himself up there.
Yeah.
It didn't sound like there was a crowd or anybody, which I feel like is a recipe for success whenever you get a whole river section to yourself and you don't have anybody else to contend with. I think that is definitely the winning formula there.
Yeah, and it was cool. He caught a big largemouth and a big smallmouth, both of which I know are up in that river. I've got some friends around here that are on them constantly up in the river, up way further upriver than anybody could get if you float down from the other direction. But they're in there. I mean, if they're in it one section, they're in another, and he figured it out. And like we talked about before we went live, it sounded like most people were falling all over each other on the lake. Nobody went up the river.
Yeah, and we'll find out more, kind of leading up to that as we get our other panel guests in. But it did sound like the lake was crowded, and there was a lot of kind of overlap, people doing similar things on similar spots.
Yeah, we'll talk to them about that. But good stuff. Congrats to Drew. He's now won the AOY, not last year. That was Russ. The year before, he's got the Hobie BOS AOY and now the Bass Championship. So,
yep, pretty
trophy wall filling up.
Yep,
Congrats
pretty solid deck there on the bass side.
Woo, yeah. So we've got Guillermo with us tonight. We've got Bennett and Damien, who's been on the show before. So second, third, and fourth are all going to be here, kind of break down what they thought of the event.
I can't wait to hear what Damien was doing, because remember last year at the championship, he's like, "Yeah, I was just sitting in 30 feet of water fishing timber," or something. Like it was, just something random that I wouldn't expect on Chickamauga. Like he's like, "Yeah, I was just bouncing a shaky head around around some laydowns or something." I was like, "Wow, all right."
Remember, he was throwing some kind of toned down Carolina rig. What was that thing called?
Yeah, I can't remember. We'll get back to that. Star that in your mind so we can ask him about it.
Some Cali folks are watching. They'll tell us in the comments, whatever. But yeah, good stuff. We're going to get with all them in here in just a second. Let's shout out the sponsors and get Steve in, because we got a lot of guests. We need to
do it.
Hey, I see you.
We're twitching. California rig.
Cali rig?
A Cali rig. All right.
What are the taxes on that, Max? Yeah. So Eco Fishing Shop, man, the show's presented by Eco. I saw Travis and the crew. They were actually down there making the rounds. He was at the expo. He was at the actual weigh-in for the Classic and the Kayak guys. So Eco Shop was on the scene down there. If you need anything, ship nationwide from a kayak perspective, from a gear perspective, whatever, they will hook you up. EcoFishingShop.com. They've got it going on over there.
Oh yeah.
Western Son Vodka. What you got in the cup? You got any Western in there tonight?
I don't, man. I'm going light. I'm on some Topo Chico seltzers tonight.
All right.
We had down. It's summertime's coming,
Yeah, I had fun with Adam on. He was talking Western up. It was really cool how they're involved in the outdoor industry. And then we went through their website and stuff. You can get over there as the weather warms and find some cool cocktails to make up.
Oh yeah.
Of course, Pro Guide Lithium. They were on the road, man. They went from Redcrest to the Classic Expo. They're burning up the highways, spreading the good word of Pro Guides. Yeah. And then tonight, like I said, is the Z-Man giveaway. So make sure you get in on the Z-Man giveaway. Appreciate our other partners, Seaguar, Revo, and Gill. Make sure you get over there and support those that support us and support you.
Keep it running.
Yeah, man. All right, let's get Mr. Steve, the big boss man, in here.
Sweet Daddy. Bring
Sweet Daddy
in here.
The birthday boy.
I know.
The birthday boy. Hey, happy belated birthday, Mr. Steve.
Thank you. I appreciate it, man. I'm exhausted, but I'm still alive.
Yeah.
What are you now, Steve? 63, 64?
Getting closer every day. Right now, I'm
man.
about 76, but now I'm 49.
76 today. That's wild, man. I'm going to have to get on Daniel a little bit. He's going to have to take better care of you. I'll let you get too far from home.
Yeah, that's it. I lose my bearings about me, but yeah.
One more year, Steve, you get that AARP card like I got. All right.
I like it.
Save 10%.
Tell us about it, Steve. How was it? How did it go? What was the experience like? We kind of touched on the coverage. Obviously, not only did Bass and Bass Nation do a great job of covering it, but a lot of sponsors, stepped up and took their own reins, so to speak, on covering their anglers and hyping the event up. I mean, it looked like it was fantastic.
Yeah, that's something, we talked about earlier in the year. You got Old Town and New Canoe and Native, and all the brands are hyping their anglers really good. But this event was a noticeable, attachment's not the right word, but they're grabbing a hold of it. Like I mentioned, you anglers have taken ownership and you're taking care of the series. You're helping people. We're talking about things, that whether we should or shouldn't do. And I'm seeing the industry, even like, at the Seaguar booth, when I went up there, Mark Daniels Jr. and of course, Brian Evans and all of them immediately started asking about the Kayak Championship before I even started talking about it. And so, I actually had some, people like, not name dropping, but I went to seek these people to get an autograph for a friend of mine's little boy. I got Zaldane asked about it. Got over to Tao Y'all. I can't remember how you say his name, but he's a guy that's fishing the opens now. An Asian dude I follow a lot. Anyways, Yamamoto guy. Just all of them. And then Brad Rutherford from Pure. All of those people are asking about it, and so I think that the coverage has went a long way. The anglers putting themselves out there on social media, all of their sponsors are starting to grab them and use that platform for what it is, which is to broadcast our anglers. So that's pretty good, man. The event went really good. We got out there pretty early. Tahlequah was amazing. That place is beautiful. Um, yeah, and the fishing was pretty good for a lot of people. I mean, it was tough on some, but it's like that because you're fishing a body of water that's unique with the clarity and the depth and the structure and the cover that a lot of people don't get a chance to fish, throughout the year.
It looked good. How was the Night of Champions?
Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm getting to know more people in house, so I've got more people to talk to. But the anglers are always cool. I don't know who most of them are because I'm just now keeping up with the boat world side of it. But I picked Russ up just so we wouldn't be double driving, and of course he's fishing, so we rolled up there together, which is always fun. He's good company, and we had a good time doing that, and just watching him, just like the year before, watching. Um, you know, Drew and Siddiqui, they're just looking around and soaking it all in. And it was at Kane's Ballroom, which is, a killer music venue that's got a lot of history. So that was a really cool thing to see all of those anglers get highlighted.
Yeah, very cool, man. What do you think of this iteration as the kayak championship continues to develop? Obviously, you've refined the process of how the actual, I'm gonna call it the weigh-in, the awards go. I know for a while there was talk about separating them out. You made the move to not do that after some good feedback. How does that
Yeah.
continue to evolve with getting the guys on stage and making that happen?
I guess I'm kind of missing part of the question. I guess it just stays the same. I think if that's what you're asking, because I think it's going great.
Yeah.
People are really liking it. I did have a few people, and again, it's where some people like this flavor, some people like that flavor. You got people saying, "Well, take us to one of the best lakes in the country," and I'm kind of like, it doesn't matter if you go to the best lake in the country if you're just on a YouTube stream, you're kind of missing the punch of being in a Bassmaster Championship if you're just going to be streamed on YouTube. So, I feel you know, like we all want bucket list lakes, especially, in kayaking, it's still a hobby sport to a lot of extent, but it's gaining a lot of momentum. So therefore, when you're championship, you just go fish the body of water it's on. It might not be the best one, but just go get it, go get after it, and fish against the best competition we've got.
And a lot of that though is determined by where the Bassmaster Classic is on the boat
Yeah,
side. Obviously you have a radius. They want to still have those communities and municipalities involved to some extent in that area, so that it's not like you can go to a lake that's 4 or 5 hours away, right? So you
yeah.
got to try to kind of pick the best option that you have kind of put before you. I think is what people need to remember on that side.
Yeah, and actually, Eric Lopez, we had this conversation now the champions, and he told me he was like, like he did with Chick, he let us break the chamber contract, so to speak. He did it for this one too, and he said, you got to get me a list, get 4 or 5 lakes that the people want in Texas, and if we wanted to do one 8 hours away, he would do it. But it just means the top 10, or the people
Have to
like
drive that far.
yeah, and the Canadians, they love it. They said, please keep it with a classic because we want to fish a championship, and then now we get to, because they're not going to get a classic up there.
Yeah.
Closest one they ever had was like New York or something, and that probably won't happen again for forever. So yeah, I think it's a pretty cool thing. And again, like everybody else, I had people coming up, all obviously this lake sucks, and which is every lake, and I was cutting up one of the guys. I was like, man, I said, I hear you say that about every lake. Maybe you need to get a little bit better at fishing. So
Outside
yeah.
of a few places in the southeast, where else can you go catch a 20 plus largemouth and a 20 plus smallmouth on the same lake?
Oh, dude, yeah, and there were. I mean, I got so many pictures in practice from people, which I can't talk about, but they were just, excited. Saw some, some 5 pound smallmouth caught, and there was um, Let's see, Joseph Gayton caught a 22 and a half or a 22 and 3/4 in practice.
Smaller?
No, it was a largemouth.
Yeah.
It was a big one. Yeah, and like you guys, were mentioning, there were anglers were camped out. There wasn't a lot of people going upriver, which was surprising because that's where I stay. And I mean, I don't just stay at the house. I get out. I can judge from a laptop, so I drive to boat ramps and then I get reports of people in certain places. So I do. I go and I check boat ramps and I actually walk ridges to look down and make sure there's enough water for people to make it back up and forth too. And I talk to boaters. But this one, there were some ramps I had to go look at. People, supposedly putting in on the side of a bluff or something, and I went and it was not what it was. It just, I'm not even gonna get into it. I shouldn't even say anything, but it was just people just whatever. Yeah.
People being people, Steve?
Well, yeah, I mean, literally, there's a ramp right there, and people ask me, because it's literally with the water down there, it's easier to go 20 feet to the right of the ramp and put in than it is the actual ramp, and it's actually safer on their vehicle. Axles getting broken and stuff, so that's what I said, and yeah, I think somebody took it and was just getting a little whatever about it. So anyway, I hopped in a Carl Black Chevrolet and Dale Earnhardt it on down there and checked it out.
Shameless
So, yeah.
plug.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but it was man, everybody did a good job. Didn't have anything to really have to poke around on, and uh, had a lot of duplicates, which we're catching way earlier nowadays. I think on day 2 we had like 10 or 11 duplicates caught in like the
Really?
exact same spot. Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Well, this time of year, you kind of expect that, and we've seen it before. I know on the river section of the Tennessee River, I may catch the same smallmouth 3 or 4 times in a week, just
Yeah.
because of where they are and what they're doing. Like, you gotta, I mean, that's part of tournament fishing. And I think that's another question. Like, on the day 1 and day 2 stuff, like, as an angler, you can't keep from doing it, right? Like, if you're bed fishing,
Yeah.
I understand, like, you can't catch the same fish 2 or 3 times in a day. But like, if you're in an area and you're going around like point hopping or something, and you catch the same fish on day 1 and day 2, like, what are the chances you as an angler are going to recognize it on the water? Like, from
Very hard.
from
Yeah.
the day before, like the day of, I can see you pull up your live well or whatever, and you're like, oh, I got 2 17.5s or whatever. But it's very rare that you go back and look at the day before and go through your limit, trying to make sure that that fish hadn't been encountered before.
Yeah, people were apologizing for it. I was like, dude, you didn't do anything wrong. I said, that's our job.
Yeah.
You just submit the fish. If you've got, 9 18 inches and 1 14, that's our job to look through those 9. And it is hard because, like, especially from day 1 to day 2, it was cloudy and then it wasn't. And literally the shade of those fish were so hard to tell on a lot of them. But everyone, and the way I do it, and Daniel does the same, and even Bethany is, you know, they're different fish with similarities, and I have to convince myself it's a duplicate. I don't immediately look at it with a mindset of, that's a duplicate, and how do I prove it? So I have to be proven that it is a duplicate, not, so, because I don't want to have to do that, but
You're a good man, Steve.
appreciate you.
Innocent until proven guilty, right?
Yeah,
So,
that's kind of, the way you got
this-
to do it.
This is America. A few questions for you, man. We want to keep you too long, so we got the
absolutely.
anglers in. Kevin Hawkins, I pronounced his name right?
Kayvon.
Kayvon. How much has the event increased year by year? Has it grown participation wise, or maybe hype wise, or both? What do you think, Steve?
I think hype, it's absolutely, I don't want to say doubled, but it might have doubled in the last couple of years. This one, I mean, people, I have so many numbers in my phone. I want to say probably 40 to 50 people that I don't have saved in my phone, just texting thanks and good luck to, such and such from home. They're not even fishing the event. Facebook Messenger and emails. I'm getting a lot of emails from other states, saying, hey, I've got my buddy in there. Thank you for getting them there. So the hype, and as we mentioned, the industry people, attendance wise, it has grown just because, we do have Bass Nation that is growing, which we're still tweaking that to, see how many people from each state go, to make sure that it's balanced the way it needs to be. But yeah, it's all going good. And I mean, championship's different than the normal season. Normal season's 80-20. that's just math. That's Bassmaster. It's going to be 80% payout, 20% goes to Bassmaster, and then minus the Tourney X strike fees come out of the pot. And thought about, and I've talked to y'all about it next year, because by me taking the Tourney X and strike fees out of the pot, that cuts the pot back, But if you add it to the entry fee, you're only talking about $12, $13, and it increases the payout, a couple of grand sometimes. So just kind of don't want to pass on too much, but also understand that it's cutting the pot a little bit. But 80-20 is just the way it is. That's what you're fishing for, and your ability to go to a championship. Championship is a 90-10. That's why it's able to get up to 25,000. So, but I think we had 168 qualify. We had 186 qualified, 164 show up. So I thought that was a pretty dang good number.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
A couple more quick questions for you, buddy.
Yeah.
Matt Collins over on Facebook said, "Great Classic. Are we announcing where it'll be next year? Beginning
Texas.
in Texas. There you go.
I'm working on it. I got to get that list.
Louisville. I've heard it's Louisville, for those wondering.
You're just
Marty
saying that
Hughes.
because Clifton was in the comments.
Yeah, this isn't really a question; it's more of a comment. But he said this event had the deepest competitive field I've witnessed over the years, and that's maybe a testament to the growth of the quality of folks that are trying to qualify for this. I know in the years past, you got the same usual suspects like Drew, Russ, Siddiqui, Guillermo, some of these guys that are in all the events all over the place. But some others like young Edwin was up there in the running this time, and Jackson, and some of them that have been kind of on the BOS now showing up on the bass side. So definitely a deep field. Don't you agree, Steve?
Yeah, and you can take in people like you're going to have Bennett on here and all of them. Those are people from the East Coast that, just getting more experienced into fishing. And then, of course, like the Damian Towles and those people. But, yeah, the Bass Nation's helping some people get more into the bigger series, if you want to call it that. And so the national series, just from getting their whistle wet in that $75 range. So,
yeah. Good stuff, man. Good
yeah.
stuff.
But I appreciate you guys. Let me come on and recap a little bit and thank everybody. I'm not huge on birthdays. They really just don't. They're another day to me, but it means a lot that people think about you on that day. So I really appreciate all that for everybody doing that.
Yeah, man. Well done, Steve.
Sir.
Appreciate y'all. I'm exhausted. My brain's fried. So, yeah.
We're proud of you, buddy. Keep doing it.
Appreciate y'all. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate
We'll let you get out of here. Go get some rest.
All right, man. See y'all. Thank you.
All right. Later, Steve.
Steve Owens, everybody. Steve Owens, the man.
Hammer.
Steve Owens. The entire panel. Damien just popped in and Steve dropped off. We are ready. Let's get the panel of anglers in here.
Let's do it.
Boom, boom, boom. Hey, gentlemen, thank you so much for coming in here to talk a little bit of fishing. We got East Coast, West Coast, and right in the middle. All represented, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, y'all wore out. Everybody back home safe. I know, G, you just had to ride down the road, but Bennett, Damien, back home safe, resting up, huh?
I'm just happy to sleep in my own bed for once.
Yeah. Yeah, for real. So before we get started, I got to ask Guillermo, you about pulled off the victory. How are you so good at fishing in Oklahoma? Every time you come up here, Broken Bow, Tenkiller, wherever you go, you seem to do well.
Man, I just really enjoy fishing in Oklahoma. I don't know what it is about it, but every time I go up there, I have a ton of fun. And usually if I'm having a good time, I'm catching them. So I think that's really all there is to it.
Yeah, fair enough.
It seems to be working.
Yeah.
Guillermo, I want to apologize I might have jinxed you, and I apologize if I did. Day 2, I checked the leaderboard. You're obviously way out in front. Drew hadn't logged any fish yet. And it didn't even register in my mind. I was like, man, this is so cool. Like going to the Bassmaster website and seeing the live leaderboard and the updates and stuff. And then I saw Drew put his fish in. I was like, son of a bitch. I might have made the post too early. I might have jinxed it. I'm sorry, Guillermo. I'm sorry.
That's not your fault, man. That's not your fault at all.
It was so cool watching that though. Like going to the Bassmaster website, seeing you guys up there all day, battling the thing out, and knowing what it's going to lead to, on the big stage, which you all got to experience that. But I mean, it was awesome to watch.
Yeah, so we just had Steve on to kind of recap the event. Before we get into the actual fishing, what do you guys think of how the event has kind of built over the last few years? The event itself, if you went to the expo, what did you think of how kayak fishing and this kayak fishing championship went this time from start to finish? Let's hear from the kid, Bennett. What'd you think, buddy? Coming from the East Coast.
It was a much different experience than what I thought it'd be. Like, I mean, I haven't been like I've been to the Classic once whenever it came to Hartwell, and I mean, just like being there, and I didn't get to see the kayak guys go on stage that time. I had to work that day, but it was. I mean, it's an experience. It's cool to see it grow, and it's definitely getting more and more attention and more traction, which is really cool to see.
Damian, what did you think? Obviously you got up there again this year. What did you think? How did that compare to Knoxville?
Honestly, it felt the same. It was still unreal. It's kind of hard to explain the feeling. It's just you get on stage and it just lights everywhere, so you still get the same feeling. So all in all, man, they did a really great job both times. I have no complaints at all.
You better get used to it because it seems like you always find your way back to that big stage one way or another.
Yeah. And Guillermo, have you been, forgive me for not knowing this, I know you've won a lot of trophies and you've got some blue trophies. Have you been on the Classic stage for this championship yet until this time?
This was my first time.
Okay. What did you think? As a guy that's won a lot of events, won a lot of trophies, what did you think of that experience?
I gotta say it was pretty dang cool.
Yeah.
Like leading up to it, I remember telling someone, man, I kind of wish it had been over when, we had our little awards back in Tahlequah. But then I got up on that stage and I got to say, in years past, the place would be about half full. But this time when we went up there, the place was dang near full. And that place being dang near full and having the opportunity to go up there and talk, it was super cool. And I hope I get to do it again someday.
I'm sure you will. Sure you will. Especially since it's going to be in Texas next year. I would venture to say you'll probably see that stage again.
I hope so.
Yeah, very, very cool to see, man. Seeing our fellow anglers up there, seeing our friends up there, it's cool to watch. And I think the very first one that they had, where they had the, kind of kayak anglers go on the floor. I think I actually was sitting out there with you, G, watching that from the pit, from the mosh pit there.
Yeah.
And it just made sense that you would be up there eventually. And then, like Damian, he's got a permanent spot up on the stage. It seems he's got a lease up on the stage for the Bass Classic. So. Very cool stuff. Billy Bowden saying he's trying to handle the Charmin commercial. Come on, man. I caught slander for the commercials with my non-YouTube premium. So why don't you go ahead and upgrade? Come on, Billy. Yeah. J Mac Outdoors asked, does anyone automatically qualify for next year based on this year's tournament? I don't know the answer to that. Do you know that, Ryan?
Does the winner automatically qualify? I'm not sure. I think maybe the winner does. But I think everybody else, has to go back through the qualification process. I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong. That's a Steve-O question, to be honest.
Yeah, we just had Steve on. You should have asked that when he was on.
Yeah,
come on, man.
That'd have been a great question for the tournament director.
So let's get into the fishing, guys. Let's go through the tournament. Guillermo, obviously you were the day one leader. Tell us what you found going into the tournament and how that kind of went into day one for you.
So going into the tournament, I had a couple of different patterns going. But one thing was certain, and that was you had to get around the bait. If you weren't around the bait, you weren't around the fish. It was really weird. I mentioned this on stage. I expected to go into this tournament with it being like super, super like pre-spawn, kind of like, I can compare it a little bit to broken bow. I expected it to be more like broken bow, to where when the fish are getting ready to spawn on broken bow, you can kind of, start to pretty much go down the bank and just catch fish, with those fish starting to little by little just kind of go and check things out up shallow. But this particular case up in Tenkiller, it seemed like those fish did not have spawning on the mine whatsoever. They only had one thing on the mine, and that was bait. And so if you got around bait, it seemed like you were around the fish. And so I kind of made it a point to look for bait. And I found that, and I figured out that if you could find bait in a pocket, you were going to catch them fast. And I had to kind of fish some of those pockets a lot of different ways. But one of the things that I realized out there was that a fish will go a long ways to eat a bait on that lake. That lake is very, very clear. The area I was fishing had probably about 7, 8, maybe even 9 feet of visibility. And I was throwing that swim bait in some cases in 30 feet of water, and that swim bait was not getting down more than about 8 feet. And they were just crushing it from every direction. I saw that somebody asked if I was scoping, and what's funny was my live scope only worked for about, I'd say, a quarter of the tournament. But I gotta say the live scope did help me figure out how those fish were set up on bait. I would pull up on a pocket that I knew had bait in it, right? You could use your side scan, find the bait, and if the bait was in there, there was almost always fish in there. And I would be fishing in pretty deep water. This swim bait usually couldn't get down more than about 8 feet. And I was catching, I felt like I was drawing a lot of fish from a long ways to that swim bait. And but afterwards, during practice, while my live scope did work, usually I didn't actually use my live scope until after I caught a fish. And after I caught a fish, I would kind of look at it and try to see, based on where I caught that fish, kind of where those fish were set up. And that's when I kind of started to figure out how they were setting up. It seemed like every time I put my live scope actually in the water and tried to fish with it, I just couldn't catch them. I'll be the first to admit I'm still pretty lousy with it. I really have to take time to learn it. But I mean, it did help me figure out, once I started catching fish, it helped me figure out how they were set up. And then I could kind of use that information going into the tournament to know how to approach certain areas, depending on whether there was actually bait in there or not. Another kind of pattern that I got on in practice, and I didn't fish it much in the tournament. I did catch, I did fish it in the tournament. I just fished it a little differently in the tournament. And I think Damien found something similar. There was a lot of fish suspended under docks and under marinas. And whenever you got around the bait, under docks and marinas and pylons or whatever you could find out there in some pretty deep water, I was able to draw a lot of fish to eat that swim bait. And then in practice, I was able to draw a lot of fish out of those marinas to eat a flutter spoon.
Yeah, I love that. That's a fun way to catch them, the big flutter spoon.
It was fun. I didn't do it much in the tournament, but in practice, I had a good time with it.
Bennett, what did you find in practice? You kind of told us before the show started you didn't have a fantastic practice except one day. What was that productive day like that you kind of found that you ran the pattern for the tournament?
Yeah, so day one of practice, I went and launched at the boat ramp, and I found I'm one of the guys who I'll start fishing as soon as I get to the boat ramp. I won't run and then start fishing. Especially in practice when you're trying to put all the puzzle pieces together, I'll start right there. But I launched and saw a bright block on my side scan as soon as I launched, and it was near a marina where they got these big cement blocks in the water. And there had actually been a bunch of bait that was kind of piled up against the boat ramp, and the boat ramp's kind of on a point, and a bunch of bait in there. So I looked around, and all the kayaks I saw were kind of going away. No one was actually looking my way. So I go over to this block, and I pitch a Demiki rig over to it. Before it even gets to the block, a big 18-inch smallmouth gets it. I fight him back to the boat. He's jumping. I'm looking around, making sure no one's seeing me. And I get to the boat. I kind of let it go next to the kayak and let it go. I look up, look again to make sure no one's watching. No one's looking at me. So I pitch over a second time to the same block, and same thing again. Before it even gets to the block, another 18-inch smallie. I'm like, oh my word! I might just sit here the whole tournament, just kind of joking. So I was like, all right, well, there's that. So I go run to the back of the creek. I catch another 18-inch smallie, another 17-inch largemouth on a Demiki rig, and I got to give a shout out to Jared Stanley. He placed 8th. And I actually called him. I was practicing. I was rooming with him. I called him. I was like, dude, I got on a pattern with the Demiki rig on like rock piles and on like the boat ramp. Like, dude, there's a block on this boat ramp that I just caught 2 18-inch smallies back to back. And he's like, dude, I just like caught one off the boat ramp I left, and I just got to this boat ramp and caught another one. And I didn't want him to tell me where he was fishing, because I like fishing with an open mind, and not like, because if someone I know tells me they're fishing an area, I don't want to know where they're fishing, so I don't, it'll mess with me. But like, don't tell me where we're fishing. But we're on the phone for like an hour. I come back, I get back to the boat ramp, and I'm like, Jared, do you drive a stock Silverado with like stock rims and everything, with an NRS strap on the tailgate? He's like, bro, you're joking. So we're at the same boat ramp doing the same thing. Didn't tell each other what we were doing.
Same block?
Same pattern.
Same block or no?
Yeah, same block, same everything.
Is a concrete block, is that a pattern in North and South Carolina?
I've never fished it. If it is,
all right.
I didn't know it was a thing.
I'll have to keep an eye out for those on the side scan from now on.
I know, it's weird. And the thing is, like, in the tournament, I couldn't even see the fish on it. I just knew they were there, and they'd kind of follow up off the block. It was weird. But he ended up finding some other stuff in practice, and he was kind enough to let me fish that block in the tournament. So I got to give him a big shout out for letting me do that.
Fish that block in the tournament.
I'm not sure he was happy about his decision after day one, but I'm happy he let me fish it. So
were you scoping those with the Demiki rig?
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
All right.
But
Damien, what did you get on in practice? Did you find a magic
concrete
block, or what?
Oh no!
What was your approach?
Practice was quite confusing for me because the fishing was just so good all around the lake. It was hard to put something together when everything was so good. I mean, every bait I tied on, I caught them. I threw a big swim bait, 9-inch swim bait, still caught them. They're all the same size. For me, I was, yeah, there was a lot of bait, but the ones that for me were around the bait were a little bit harder to catch. And I found that I needed something that moved fast enough to blow up that bait ball to get those fish's attention. There's a lot of bait around, so the chances of them seeing a small bait that I'm throwing out is very unlikely. So I throw that spoon, and when they went through the bait ball was scattered, and then the bass would chase my bait down. But practice, everything seemed to work. But I did catch one of my bigger fish was on the spoon, so that kind of really told me I just need to play the numbers game. And the big one that I did catch was he was eating crappie. So I know those fish around the marinas are very elusive. They may be there one day and gone the next day. Especially if we're here in like California, you're fishing a spoon bite. If the conditions are sunny, the marina bite's good, but if it's overcast, the bite's gonna just be gone. So I was a little bit worried there, but it didn't seem to matter. Those fish were just gonna commit as soon as they seen the spoon. But one of the main things that I looked for wasn't really the bait, really. I guess on these docks and these marinas out here, they have a lot of I want to say like man-made structures. Like there's a lot of cables that have brush piles tied to them. I'm guessing the locals put them out there or something. But the live scope, you scan over there and they'll be way back right where the walkway's at. Very hard to get a bait back there. So what I do is I pitch the spoon and let that thing flutter all the way to the back, and then when it gets close, those fish will pull off those brush piles that you wouldn't see on the live scope, and they'll come, and then once you catch one of those fish, they'll pull up further up, closer to you, so you can catch them easier. It was just great fishing all in all. It's just there's a lot of times it went catch like maybe 10, 15 fish back to back, and it was just a numbers game. And man, it was just pretty unbelievable. It didn't matter if they were suspended. They chase the spoon all the way down to the bottom and pick it up off the ground in 50 feet of water. It was pretty insane.
Wow. I was going to ask all three of you, what did you think? I can tell by looking at the pictures of your fish. Obviously, they're not Florida, Texas sized bass, but they look like very healthy, strong fish. What y'all think of the health of the fishery and the fish themselves?
So I'm from Lake Hartwell. We'll go back around the horn here.
Yeah.
Did you say me?
Yeah, G, go ahead.
Okay. Man, I thought the fishery was extremely healthy. In practice, I caught a lot of really good fish. In fact, I'm pretty sure I caught my personal best smallmouth in practice. It was 21.5 and fat, and I weighed it, and I thought I had my 6-pounder, but it was 5.9 pounds on my scale. And it was pretty dang cool. And then I caught a couple other good smallmouth, and then a couple other good largemouth. in practice and in the tournament. And I was thinking, goodness gracious, this, depending on, what the weather does to these fish, it could actually take a lot more than I initially expected to do well in this tournament. I didn't expect to see too many people breaking 90 before I got to Tenkiller, but once I got to Tenkiller, I was like, oh no, people are going to break 90, and it probably won't be that hard. And it happened.
Bennett, what'd you think about it?
The fish were like literally the healthiest fish I've caught in a while. Like on Lake Hartwell and Murray, I guess excluding Murray, but like on Hartwell, a lot of those herring fish that compete with the spotted bass, they get run down trying to chase the bait and stuff, and they'll get just really long and skinny. But like every single fish I caught on Lake Tenkiller was just fat. Like I caught a 16.5-inch largemouth that weighed 3.06 pounds at 16.5 inches. I mean, they were all just butterballs of fish. It's
just kind of Oklahoma in general.
It was a cool lake because I wasn't used to it. Like, I mean, you catch a 5-pounder and it'd be like 19 inches. Like, just weird.
That's awesome. Damien, what'd you think about it coming from Cali?
Oh man, beautiful lake. The fish were very healthy. Fished a lot like some of our California lakes, and that are really keyed in on bait, and they always just seem to be feeding all year long. They don't seem to be like what Guillermo had said. Think going into the event, it's gonna be pre-spawn spawn bite, but it's like a fall bite. Seems like fish are just gorging everywhere you went. Man, and so there's so much good amounts of fish that are in the good maybe 2 to 3 pound class fish. I thought it was gonna be an extremely it seemed like those there's a lot of fish between the 15 and 17 inch. It seemed very hard to break an 18-inch size fish. I mean, it was just so healthy. The fish was just so healthy that every time you caught a fish, you knew it was going to be a 15, 16-inch fish because that seems to be what's around. But every time you did catch one and you reeled it up, there'll be like 50 other ones with them with the same size that are coming up through the schools, So very healthy fishery. It didn't seem like you had to be around the bait for me. It just seemed like they're just all over the lake.
Big Worm, the Bassmaster cameraman. What did he mean by this, Damon? Said you were working that flutter spoon
like a high school virgin. I don't know. I don't know if that's cameraman lingo or if Guillermo, you can help us if that's a Texas term. I don't know what Mark's angling at on that one.
Can you demonstrate how that was going?
Yeah,
flutter spoon handy.
Oh no, I don't have one on me.
Yeah, that's not for the live, Jeff.
Sorry. So I'm assuming you weren't just letting it flutter.
No, I was not. I was I guess say
like
I was
some offshore, like you were.
I was stroking it pretty hard, I guess.
Okay. That's where we were going. There you go. All right.
Oh geez. Yeah, Max Lee for the OnlyFans.
Wow.
So I don't know if you guys have a story like this. Maybe all of you do, maybe none of you do, but the leaderboard was obviously close. I mean, you guys talked about how many fish were caught, how many fish were following. 1 or 2 kickers, really 1 kicker could have been the difference in the whole tournament. From Damien in 4th all the way up to Drew, we're talking 3 1/4, 3.5 inch difference from winning the tournament. Did any of you have a cull that could have been the difference that you didn't land? Or a cull or 2 over the 2 days?
So I'm going to make a comment. I did. I'd had 2 culls that day. I had one that I had just pulled a fish off a dock and I didn't check my line. And the very next fish that ate it, I watched this fish eat it. It definitely would have culled. And I'm gonna make another comment here because I don't think Bennett is. I know Bennett supposedly had a fish that he had a 1/4 inch deduction on. That meant he would have passed me. And when I heard that story, my heart sank. And I just want to say that as a testament to just how stand up of an individual that Bennett is. He didn't go out there and he didn't go out and just tell everybody how that happened and how that was the difference. He kept quiet about it and was a just total champ about it. But I can't imagine how heartbreaking that was for him. And I just want to really commend him for that. That was very stand up of him, and I'll admire him for a long time for that.
Thank you, G. I really do appreciate that. I was going to keep it to myself for a while there. I'm not going to lie.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. And I mean, anybody that's been kayak fishing, you know, whether it's in local tournaments or on the national scene, you know how important getting the perfect picture is. That one little thing, you can cut your identifier off. You can, you know, have a crack in the mouth or the tail almost cross the next line. Like anything can go wrong, especially on tournament day, to knock you back a little bit. And it counts. It counts all the time.
And I'll go ahead and say it like that. So what happened with that fish was like, it was a 17.5, and it's like I had a late day flurry on day 2. And I mean, I took like 20 pictures of this fish. I knew he was close, but I had a few pictures where he did touch that 17.5-inch mark. And I submitted my last photo I took, and I knew he was close, but I didn't ever think twice to check to see if it ever got deducted, even though I had multiple other photos to resubmit. And my Attorney X notifications were so flooded with fish submissions that I never looked to see if they had put a comment saying it was deducted. So I woke up the next morning and saw that it was deducted, and I was like, there's no way I didn't see this sooner. And I was like, I was just praying that I would lose by more than a quarter inch and that it wouldn't matter. And I mean, it's tournament fishing. I mean, there's so many things that go on that you can't account for, and that's fishing.
You got a big blue trophy behind you. You did what you needed to do anyway.
I know, and G deserved that way more than I did. I mean, I'll have plenty more opportunities in my life to do it. G deserved it.
Are you saying G's old? That he's getting.
Whoa, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. I'm saying
he's got many years left in this game, so
he's put more work into it. All right.
And you better get ready because I'm going to kick your butt again.
There we go.
Come at me.
I'm just kidding.
For clarity,
I know. I honestly, I can't wait to see his career evolve. I know he's going to be one of the big guys in this sport as his career evolves, and I know that Damien guy ain't going away neither.
No. For clarity, how old are you, Bennett?
Oh, I'm 20.
Yes, everybody's old to you, so it's all right.
I mean,
oh boy.
Yeah, it's all right. Damien, you have any stories like that? Any heartbreakers?
Man.
Fishing a flutter spoon, you had to.
Yeah,
you lose fish on a flutter spoon.
Day 1, I fished clean, so you know. And of course, day 2, I had 2 good ones that were that I had on that I seen. But you know, when you lose them, it is what it is. You know, we all go through that during tournament time, so you just kind of have to shake it off, you know, and just hope for another opportunity like that comes up, and you just got to really capitalize on it. But you know, these marinas is different from California marinas. These marinas have a crossbar right at the end of it, where if you're flipping a little bit further in, you have to fight the fish over the crossbar. And the whole time your line is just rubbing against that crossbar. So every fish I caught, I'd have to fight them over that crossbar. And, you know, every fish that I caught seemed to go over the crossbar fine. But the ones that mattered, the treble hook seemed to catch that crossbar. And you could just see the fish just shaking there the whole time you're looking at it.
Oof.
Yeah.
But that's where that water clarity will make you sick a little bit watching that happen.
Yep. But it is what it is. You know, it's, you know, yeah. Every tournament, yeah, we lose them. We lose the ones that count a lot of times. But you know, I felt like I was doing the right thing. It happens to all of us. It happens to all of us. So it just when the time's right, if it's my time or whoever's time, you know, things will go right for them. So, you know, I didn't stress out too much about it. I just hoped for another opportunity to come out. So, yeah, just 2 good fish. It is what it is, you know.
So
yeah, I had to change out line from that crossbar every day of practice completely because that crossbar would absolutely shred your line. I mean, shred it. At least for me, it did. Maybe I wasn't using good enough line, but
I was running. I usually spoon with about 15-pound fluorocarbon, but this one, the first day I ran out of all my reels. I was literally flipping the spoon with like my jig rod and stuff like that, and my swim bait rod. I was flipping spoons because I was running out of line. I had to cut so much line off of my spools, and And the next day I ran with all my spools, ran with 20-pound tests, tactical, and just fighting these fish over. I had to keep changing rods because all my lines were going bad.
That's crazy.
Wow.
So take us through the tournament itself. We talked about pre-fishing. We've talked about the things that went wrong. Take us through what went right. We're down. We're going to go over tonight. I want everybody to know. We got like 150 people live and a lot of stories to tell. But take us through the tournament, G. Day 1 and day 2. Go ahead and run through like what were some of the big catches, what were some of the kind of the defining moments for you during this.
Yeah. As of what went right was I fished a little cleaner than I anticipated I would. In practice, I had a lot of big bites and I caught some of them, but man, in practice, it seemed like I wasn't hooking them good. And I was a little concerned. I was like, man, I really hope I can keep my hookup ratio up for the tournament. And in the tournament, once the tournament started, I was able to keep the majority of my fish on. So that's definitely what went right. What went wrong? My morning bite both days was never as good as I had hoped it would be. It always seemed to kind of pick up mid-morning for me, which was a little weird because a lot of people reported just the opposite. But that's kind of how it was for me. Every day I made a 45-minute run across the lake to go fish 2 spots. I did that both days, and both days it paid off. And I remember being worried. I was both times, going across the lake doing nothing, just literally, just thinking about what's about to happen. And I was really thankful that both days I was able to catch key coals after running 45 minutes across the lake.
Bennett, what about you? How'd the tournament play out for you? Was the concrete block loaded every day, or what? Did you have to leave side of the truck at all, or what happened there?
I wish it were loaded every day. No, I mean, it paid off day 1. I sat on it for like 3 hours first thing in the morning, limit, caught my kicker, 19.5-inch smallmouth off of it, which is my personal best smallmouth. But it kind of sucked because I couldn't lift the thing up to take a picture because I had 4 other guys fishing right around me. And I was like, I don't want to hold up a 19.5-inch smallmouth, morning of day 1. And I was like, I can't do it. So I kind of I took the picture and slipped them through my legs. So hopefully nobody saw it. But, after the morning bite, I kind of just left and came back to that same cement block a couple times. It's like every time I came back, I'd catch one off of it and I'd leave, let them reset, come back, catch another one off, and then 18 inches off on it, just all good ones. But day 2 I went back, playing. I was like, well, they're still moving up on it, so maybe it'll pay off again to do it on the second day. But I show up on the second day and I catch like 3 little ones off of it. I think the biggest one I caught off it was like a 16.25, and I ended up getting struggled to get a limit. I had like a 12 and a 13. And I was fishing on the boat ramp. I told myself I was going to hit this block one more time, and if I don't get a bite, I'm switching ramps. I don't know where I'm going, but I'm switching ramps because it's not working. It's like I just hit them too hard. And so I come back. A good one follows it and turns right back to the block and won't eat. And I was like, screw it. I've got to do something. So I pack my stuff up, hit the gas, and run to the next closest marina that I knew of. And it was a 20-minute drive. I went down to Strayhorn. And it was literally a 20-minute drive. And the whole drive, I was praying that I was like, Lord, please let this be the right move. Let this pay off. And I was like, so I got to the boat ramp. And as I got to the boat ramp, there's a guy taking his kayak out. And he's like, dude, I'm done. I haven't caught a fish. This is stupid. And I'm thankful that dude was there. But I ended up launching and right in front of the boat ramp, same thing again, big marina. There was more of them cement blocks, but there wasn't just one. There was like a field of these cement blocks. And I was like, okay, it's on. So so within 5 minutes, I hit the 17.5-inch smallmouth, called my 12-incher, and the dude who's packing his ramp starts shouting because I told him I was in contention. I had to call a 12-incher. He starts shouting. He's cheering me on. It's I'm like, this is awesome. So then I fished the cement blocks a little bit. I make it run to some brush piles I'd found so they want to practice over there, like a mile run. Fish them, don't get any bites. I come back to the boat ramp, and the dude that actually came back, relaunched, was fishing the boat ramp kind of around there. I told him what I was throwing, and I mean, he didn't want a skunk. I don't blame the dude. It was totally cool. It was totally cool. But I got back. I started fishing kind of out deeper in the marina, and I see him wave me over like this from a distance. I was like, oh, okay. So I go over. He's like, dude, you're in contention to win this thing or do well. He's like, you go ahead and fish the boat ramp. I'll just fish behind you, man. Just do your thing. And had he not said that, I probably wouldn't be here. Like I probably would have let him. I probably would have let him fish. And I would have fished deeper and not been up there. But he waved me on. And so with 20 minutes left, I catch that 17 and a quarter. And then with 7 minutes left, I catch an 18-inch largemouth off the cement blocks. And I mean, literally just straight, dude, I caught the 18. He was nice enough. He's like, bro, let me get a picture. And like he got some pictures with me and the fish with the boats, like with the ramp in the background and the trucks parked. And he was there cheering me on. I was screaming. I was like, I'm gonna do it. I was so excited. It doesn't get any better than that. And then some of the other guys heard me shout and came over, started watching. I mean, it was a really, really cool experience there in the end. So, like everyone just
show for him out there.
It was cool. I just wish Mark was there to take some photos. But
where were you at, Big Worm? Come on.
He was watching the flutter spoon go down over there.
I know.
I know.
But, Damien, how did the tournament go for you? I mean, it sounded like from pre-fishing you were pretty committed and locked in on the spoon deal. Did you ride that out the entire tournament?
I did. I threw that the entire tournament. Practice I didn't throw it so much. But I love to throw that spoon. So when it came tournament time, I was a bit worried because the conditions were changing. Usually, you got a sunny day. These fish are going to be tucked under the shade. They're going to be very predictable. But the following day, day 2, you're going to have overcast and it's going to be cloudy, chance of rain. Usually that makes these fish pull out and start searching, and they don't usually hang tight to that cover anymore. But it didn't seem to matter. The bait had throughout the practice, the bait had got less and less and less, and to a point where there's almost no bait, and there's only specific bait balls that will come around every now and then. If you're lucky, they just came around. But I was really hoping these bass around the crappie were hanging around, and they did. And I was just very fortunate these fish stayed around. But yeah, everything was kind of smooth. These fish didn't move around a whole lot as I thought they would. I did have one slip that had a lot of fish, but these were afternoon fish. They didn't show up to it until maybe about 10 o'clock. And when they did show up, it was lights out right there. It was just every cast. That spoon couldn't get to the bottom and they would have it. I started the first thing in the morning, day 2. It was one of my hot spots that I had really, leaned on them pretty hard on day 1. I made 3 pitches there first thing in the morning. Nobody was home, so I left, went to another slip, and I found that they had moved to that slip, and I proceeded to do really well there. And then once it hit close to noon, I went back to the other slip to check on them, and they showed up again and caught a bunch of fish there as well. Just the only downside is it was hard to get fish in the 17-inch class range, but a lot of fish in the 15 to 16, 16 3/4. It was just awesome fishing. And it's just even if I didn't make a top 10, I still really enjoyed the fishing there. It's been a very long time since I've got on a bite that was really this good. It seems like these fish have not seen a spoon in a long time. And when it came to tournament day, I felt very comfortable that somebody wasn't going to be doing what I was doing, so it would be harder to catch the fish that I'm targeting. So I felt very good about day 1 and day 2.
Were you scoping your fish with that spoon, Damien?
I was a lot of times I did scope, and a lot of times I didn't. There's some areas that there's more cables than usual, and these fish will just pull off these cables, and they'll come and check out your spoon. Even if you scope around and you didn't see any fish, you flip that spoon under there, you get it to about 15 to 20 feet, and you just hop it down there under the pontoon boats and under the docks. They would just pull out of random places, and they'll just start schooling up again and start chasing.
I like it.
Yeah, man. I see you starring up some questions, Ryan. I'll start reading some of them to these guys. Mike Marvel on Facebook. How early in the week did each of you show up? How much pre-fishing did you have? We can go in reverse order. Damien, when did you get there from Cali?
So I believe we got there, I think, Friday night. We had 3 days of practice, but every day of practice, it's just so hard to get used to the time change. So we got up and it was late, and we got on the water. Everybody's out already on the water, and we'd get out there and just scan around and stuff. But day 1 and day 2, I kind of figured out what I needed to do, and then day 3 of practice, we just went out and scanned and just looked to see where the bait has been moving and stuff.
Bennett, what about you? How long did you get to practice?
Yeah, so I drove down Friday, and Saturday was my first day of practice. And Saturday's where I found all the stuff I ended up using for the tournament. And the next 3 days were just trying to find something different, and it did not work out. So, I mean,
it did work out. It didn't work
it
out the
worked
way you
out.
thought it
It
was
just-
going to.
yeah, exactly.
Guillermo, what about you? When did you get in? How much practice did you get on the lake?
I got 3.5 days. So I got in, when was it? That would have been, I got in Friday night.
So everybody's got a pretty similar practice story there.
You know, G, what do you think about it being midweek? I know that'd be hard for regular season events, but for a championship, I think it's a huge deal to have it midweek to take some of the pressure off the water while you're trying to have this championship event. Do you like that, be midweek?
Oh yeah, I really liked it. I mean, I remember my first day of practice Saturday. There were like 4 boat tournaments going on, and it was like it was a zoo out there. I mean, it was wild. And I mean, it kind of felt it wasn't the biggest, the biggest championship lake we've ever fished, and we had in 170 some championship field. So I mean, it was still even Wednesday and Thursday was still pretty crowded, but despite that, I wouldn't have had it any other way. I hope we can have more championships that are midweek like that. I think it's a cool format, and it gives us the opportunity to kind of not have to worry as much about other traffic, so to speak. I think spring break was going on, so there's still quite a few people out there fishing, but it was really nice. I hope we get to do it that way again.
I like that format, and I think Bass will probably stick with it, especially, it being tied in with the championship. So they want, their media coverage kind of separate. They want to be able to do the kayak stuff during the week and then move over their entire social media focus on the boat side. So I think it's really good that they run it that way, and I think it does help a lot, especially on these, bigger fisheries that we go to, not having that boat pressure on it. So it may be a larger kayak field, but when we're fishing 200, 230 angler kayak fields, it's still less than that. And you're not having to contend with that boat traffic on tournament day as well.
Yeah, big stuff. Another question. This is for Damien from over on YouTube. Chris asked, we talked about this a little bit ago. Asked Damien about his Carolina rig. What is that called? There was a special name for like
it's a California rig. It's just a really toned down Carolina rig. It's just really toned down, very light weights and stuff like that.
Okay, I got you.
We remembered that story from last year, so we were trying to figure out what it was.
Yeah, I couldn't remember the name. Somebody said Cali rig in the comments, and we thought they were joking, but that was the actual name of it, Cali rig.
Damien named it the Cali rig, so now it's the Cali rig.
The Damien rig. That's what it is. People. Party Cove was on fire, Kyle Strother says. Okay.
he was hanging out with the wakeboarders.
Yeah. Did you catch everything on the mag draft? I'm assuming he's shooting that towards you, Guillermo. He's talking about throwing a swim bait.
Maybe not.
Maybe not. He said swim bait. He didn't specify.
I had a 6-inch swim bait rigged several different ways, and it might have been a mag draft. It might have been a whale. It might have been a coal shad. It might have been, I don't know. It was one of them swim baits, I guess.
Hard to say. It's hard to say these days.
Hard to say. They get mixed up in the box. You're trying to get them out of there. I don't know the answer to this one, Ryan. Do you? Maybe some of the guys on here. We don't have Drew on tonight, but it said, did Drew ever say what won it for him? Not trying to take away from these guys. Just curious. Anyone know?
I think he said he was chatterbait. I think.
I was going to say, if I had to put money on it, he was up a river throwing a chatterbait or a spinnerbait on braid.
Yeah, I remember him mentioning in the awards a lot of different baits, a spinnerbait, a chatterbait. I think he just kind of, got in a lot of situations, and whatever seemed right for the situation, that's what he was throwing, just based on what he said. I mean, but one thing I can for sure tell you, he was power fishing. There's not many guys out there that are as good at power fishing as that guy. I mean, it's really impressive, and his consistency is just off the chain, and it's pretty cool to see him get the big win.
Yeah, and I'm certain, I don't know where he was, but I'm certain he was up the river, put in the work to get away from what sounded like away from more of the crowd. So he was up there and did his thing, got on those big fish up the river. So There you go. Jim said he threw that cross-eyed jig too. I know that he won in Oklahoma on that jig before, so maybe he did. Maybe he did. Any other questions for these folks? Throw them in the comments. We'll try to get them up on the screen for these guys. What's coming next for you all? G, you heading to Caddo this weekend for that Bass Nation Texas deal? Or are you taking a break?
Oh, I'm heading to Caddo. That's going to be too much fun. That's going to be too much fun. And then PK is going to be goodness. That might be even more fun.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of good chatter around the PK event. I can't wait to get out there for that one.
I just want to go ahead and plug it real quick because I don't think I sincerely do not believe there is a better weekend to go fish that lake than that weekend. So
I like it.
I am going to go ahead and say, of course, you never know. Things happen. Conditions can be tough. And I am very often wrong. But I think we might see some records broken at PK.
Do you think they'll beat Mark's one-day record?
What was that total again? I know it was outrageous, but I don't.
It was like was it 112 or 117 or something just insane?
Yeah.
Again, like Bennett off of a boat ramp.
No block this time though. I don't think there's any blocks down there on PK.
I am gonna go ahead and say.
I think it was 112.
I'm gonna go ahead and say we might see a 114 plus.
Wow.
Like I said, I've been wrong very often.
But
PK is full of giants.
I know what that lake is capable of, and I know what time of year we're going. Oof. And it just couldn't be better for fishing it in a kayak. So I'm really excited.
I like it. Bennett, are you going to come to PK now?
Sadly, no. I don't. This is the only reason I can make it.
There are lots of cement blocks at PK. I mean, lots. Hundreds.
No, the only reason I could travel to fish this championship was because it landed on the spring break for Clemson. So
I got you.
That was really it. If it didn't, it would have been really, really tough for me to have made it.
Get your studies. Gee, what about the golden algae issue on PK? We had somebody ask about that. Was it last week or the week before? One of the two. Is that an issue? Is that something of concern? Or is it just good? I mean, it's PK. I feel like, I think somebody talked about the Brazos. Sometimes it'll come up with algae blooms. It's usually not as detrimental as it is in some other areas of the country.
Yeah, I mean, PK has. Don't quote me on this, but a lot of the Brazos River lakes have golden algae issues on a yearly basis, and up until this, and when that issue gets really, 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 really bad, yeah, it can definitely affect the lake. But at least in the last few years, a lot of those lakes have had those issues that I know of. And the lakes continue to fish well. If anything, I think sometimes it's kind of like a check for some of those lakes, and it's actually beneficial.
Nice, Damien. Are you gonna come out to PK? Texas is almost close to California.
I don't think
By
so.
close, I mean like 20 hours.
I don't know. I don't think so. We have so much trails here in California. It's kind of hard to jump outside of California.
Just make your annual trip to the Bassmaster stage and then head on back to Cali for the year.
Yep. That's the only time he leaves is to get on the big stage.
Let's see. Oh, hey, question for Bennett from Kyle Davis on Facebook. Will you break down your Demiki rig setup?
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. He's laughing like there's a joke.
No, it's not a joke, but I'm not going to give away the actual bait. I'm just going to say it's a fluke style bait because some things need to stay.
I respect that. Okay. I respect that.
But I've got it's a Phoenix Feather spinning rod, 6/8 medium light. And then I've just got 15-pound braid with 8-pound fluorocarbon leader. And I use a Great Lakes Finesse jig head. And I've used a ton of different jig heads. I've used a ton of jig heads, but this jig head, I caught over 40 fish with catfish, drum, smallmouth, largemouth, white bass, you name it. And I never bent the hook. The hook never got dull, and I never lost a single fish on it. Like not a single fish. And I don't know if it's the rod or the jig head, but they all stayed buttons, and I never even with the big smallmouth jumping like they do. I never lost one.
It's a good reason to keep it.
It's a really good reason to keep it. And then it's just like a 3 3 3/4 inch fluke style bait on it. That
are you mid strolling it? Are you letting them are you hopping off the bottom? Like, what's your approach on fishing this Demiki rig?
So a lot of times I'll see like a structure. I mean, you can do it with fish. You can see fish throw over them, but with what specifically with that cement block is I throw like 20 foot past it. I let it sink down, and I get it to where, I mean, it's all kind of water clarity dependent, but I know with the water being almost 10-foot water clarity, them fish will come up 15 foot and hit it. So I would bring this Demiki rig over the block, but I'd try and keep it like 5 to 8 foot above the block, because these fish don't like it when it's right on their nose. Like, if you put a bait right on a fish's nose, it's not natural. Those fish like making a decision to chase it. And so once I'd bring it 7 to 8 foot or so over the block, and once I got a follower, I'd kind of just try and take it away from him as fast as I could. As he sped up, I'd speed up, and if he wanted it bad enough, he'd get it. So,
Nice.
I mean, it's
That's
just
some juice. That's some juice right there, folks.
Yep.
I'm taking notes.
Yeah. Don't teach G how to forward-facing sonar, please. Don't.
Oh boy.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
I may should have kept some of that to myself, but I mean, there y'all go.
I like it. I like it, man.
You'll learn when you get old like us, Bennett. There you go.
I've made a few mistakes already.
All right. I already know the answer to this one for at least one of you. Any of these guests going to fish East Coast or North events? I know G's heading to Cayuga at some point, right? Anybody else fishing up north? I know, Bennett, you're on the East Coast, so you're fishing.
I mean, the furthest north I get is going to be like Lake Norman or just North Carolina. So I mean, like, I'm going to Lake Norman in a week or two. So that's about it. But,
G, what are you hitting on the northern swing?
Man, I'm so stoked for Cayuga. And I'm also very stoked for Saginaw Bay. I mean, that's a fishery that at least as far as I'm aware, we haven't really hit yet on any national trails. And so I think that could be a lot of fun. And one of the things that's kind of intriguing about it is, there's not very many anglers that are super. I'm sure there's going to be some local ringer that's going to take all our money, but I mean, as far as I know, not too many anglers are very familiar with that place. So it's going to be kind of a learning curve for all of us, and that's always exciting.
Adam Fillmore's been hyping it up quite a bit. He said that one's going to be a slugfest.
Well, I can't wait then.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be good. Are you going to come to Hobie Fishing Worlds and hang out in Canada?
I may. Yeah. That sounds like a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun.
Not fishing, but Dude, I will definitely
just
enjoy
the experience is a lot of fun. You need to come to that one, man. We missed having you in Sweden.
For sure.
We got some other folks saying they're hitting Cayuga and Susky, thinking about Susky.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Susky, man. I feel like that one's just a given on the list. That's such a fun fishery. And
Bennett, shout out that jig head again. Somebody's asking in the comments. What was that jig head called?
It's a Great Lakes finesse jig head. It's like it was 1/8 ounce 1/0 hook.
There we go.
Yeah.
Sponsor plug, or you just buy them because you like them?
No, I bought them because I like them.
You hear that? Great Lakes, hook this kid up.
Yeah, you're sponsored now. Welcome to the world.
Yeah. Yeah. Roy Grubb says, "Good job, guys. I'm learning all I did wrong. Apparently, a lot." Yeah, you needed to find. Sorry, Roy.
I love these interviews after the tournament because you hear what people were doing, and everybody was kind of doing something different. But you hear like what the winners are doing. You're like, man, like I completely overlooked. I remember Damien was my favorite on Chickamauga when he was like, "Oh yeah, I was dragging like a finesse Carolina rig in 30 feet of water on some timber." I'm like, yeah, that didn't cross my mind at all. That was not in the cards.
Last week's glasses winner, Ryan Tyler Zingerly. All our local club's event is on Tenkiller next week, so that's probably half the audience tonight. They're trying to get the juice. They're trying to get the juice tonight.
Everybody's gonna be out there looking for concrete blocks.
They're gonna be up on the bank spawning. Y'all gonna be out there throwing flutter spoons. 2 weeks.
I gotta say, I can only imagine what that lake is going to be like here in about 2-3 weeks. I mean, I feel like eventually those fish are going to start thinking about spawning, and I gotta say, there's a lot of fish in that lake, and when they hit the bank, I feel like that place is going to get nuts. Yeah. Should see some really big limits, I would think.
I would say so after what we just saw this past week.
Should be
Billy's
a fun
dropping.
time.
Billy's dropping location. He's trying to throw people off the trail. I think Billy's throwing out specific locations, trying to get people out of there.
Oh, Billy, WDO down there on the Tenkiller. Come on, man. Slow down. Slow down on the spot. Finesse jig, A-rig, swing head. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. You never know. This time of year, things change rapidly. So a few weeks difference can make all the difference. Who knows what this fish will be doing?
Yeah, I really think it's going to be a different lake here in a couple of weeks than it was when we fished it.
Yeah, should be. Should be. That happened on Grand Lake a couple years ago here. I think we had the was it the Red Crest was on Grand Lake, and there were the kayak tournament for bass was on Grand Lake 2 weeks afterwards, and people tried to match up what was going on from the Red Crest, and it was totally different. You can't really do that. You can't really do that. Any other questions for these guys? I don't see any more start up in the comments, right? I don't want to keep them too long. I know they've had a long week, long weekend. What else you got for them?
I don't have anything else. Here's a question. Yeah. What could you tell a first timer at PK? Just general, not squeezing for the juice required.
Sure. So PK, what's kind of cool about PK is that you can kind of think about what you really like to do and find a place on the lake to do it. So once you get like around up towards Rock Creek, that part of the lake has very stained water. And then if you get around the corner on the Brazos River, it's very, very muddy water, right? But gradually, as you work your way around the Brazos River on each bend through the lake gets gradually clear and clear and clear all the way to the dam where, I mean, it could be as much as 15 feet visibility under the right conditions. So my word of advice, think about what you really like doing, where you really feel comfortable, and try to find a place on the lake to do it. There is nowhere on that lake where it can't be won. I wholeheartedly believe that. And I think we're going to see a lot of the top 10 come out of all different parts of the lake. So that would be probably my best word of advice for a first timer on PK.
And our last trip down there, Mark and Joe, we watched them battle it out on day 2. They were miles and miles apart on opposite ends of the lake doing 2 completely different things. So, I think that's a great bit of advice, is find what you're comfortable with. You can fish it fast, you can fish it slow. Just try to find something that's going to kind of cater to your confidence.
We'll slide in one last question, non-fishing related. G, what do you marinate your fajita meat in?
Did you have money fajitas before this tournament? Is the real question.
You know what's crazy? We kind of did. There's a little. I'm gonna go ahead and plug this place for the people going there in a couple of weeks. There's a little Mexican meat market in Tahlequah, and I went in there one day. I had gone into Tahlequah during practice, and I went in there. And they had pre-marinated chicken, like fajita chicken, fajita beef, and it was like the best. I was gonna go and ask them how they marinate it, and I forgot, and I'm kicking myself for it. I'm gonna have to just call them and see if they'll tell me, because it was the best marinade I've ever had. But typically, I mean, when I make the money fajitas, I don't go too crazy. We're in a tournament, so like. Usually all I do is I try to find the best supermarket I can find. I try to find some skirt steak or some chicken, and I just use the good old salt and pepper. But if I have the chance to marinate beef, I usually use a combination of just a turd load of spices, some olive oil, some Worcestershire sauce, and every now and then I change it up with a little bit of lime or whatever it may be. There's a number of good ways to marinade fajita meat, but
there you go, John.
Not like they do it in that Mexican meat market. I have got to figure that out. And another plug for them, they have the best avocados I've probably had in my entire life.
Really?
Oh,
in Oklahoma.
Gosh.
Those
in
Oklahoma avocados,
they were
baby.
Incredible. At these Mexican meat markets, I'm only assuming that they must get their produce from kind of different places than some of like the big grocery stores too, because they really were. I mean, they were incredible avocados. Probably the best I've ever had.
Oh,
so Bennett, I know you said you've only listened to one KBN episode before coming on here tonight. That is one of the staples of a lot of people's success is G's Money Fajitas. We've heard it time and time again. That's where that question came from, just to give you some background on why people are asking G to cook.
Yeah, G.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, gentlemen, we're not going to keep any longer. Thank you so much for taking the time to come on here after a long week. Huge congrats. I mean, unbelievable job at the tournament. I'm sure we're going to see more of you throughout this year and the years to come. Yeah, thanks for taking the time tonight.
Yep, we appreciate it. Congrats to all of you on getting on that big stage. I know that's a lot of people's dream, including my own. You know, that's huge. I think it's huge for the sport, but it's also a huge accomplishment that you'll carry with you, you know, forever.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank y'all for having us.
Absolutely.
Thank you, guys.
Hey, good luck the rest of your fellas. We'll let you get out of here. What fantastic guest, Ryan.
Yep.
Unbelievable. We knew it would be a good show.
Great panel.
In honor of G's turd load of spices comment, the giveaway hashtag tonight is TRD.
Okay. All right. Okay. I was
Z-Man
wondering where
giveaway.
you're going with it. I like that. All right.
Yeah,
That's a good pivot.
I didn't know he was going to say that, but he did it for us.
Yeah, okay. All right.
He helped us out. So we're doing the Z-Man giveaway tonight. Hit that TRD in the comments for a chance to win. Yeah, man. What a great panel. That was fun. I mean, we've had Damien and G on before. The kid, I liked having him on. That was fun. Bennett, we're going to see more out of him for sure.
He's got a huge following out of the Queen City crowd. So glad we got to pick his brain and figure out what he's been doing to whoop these boys on the Queen City trails.
Yeah. So that was a fun one, man. We had a huge crowd tonight. Thank y'all for watching. We had 150, 160 live.
160. Yeah, we were getting up there. That was a good one.
That didn't even count the Rumblers and Instagram people. So if you were watching there, we can't
that.
see your numbers on here, but we appreciate you.
We still appreciate you. Yeah.
Yeah, and shout out, by the way, to the audio podcast listeners. We've seen a spike in numbers over there recently as it is fishing season, if you will. So a lot more folks heading over to the audio podcast. We appreciate you over there too. So if you listen there, help us out and hit us a little review, good or bad. Even if you don't like us, just review it. It helps us in the audio algorithm over there.
I love
What's next for you, Ryan? PK? Is that where you're going to be at?
PK's the next big one. Yeah, I jumped in a local derb. Kenzo had a little volleyball thing not far from downtown Chattanooga. So naturally, I woke up at like 9 o'clock and decided to go get on the water. So I fished for about 2 hours at the same spot that I fished the FLW kayak tournament when we had it on Nickajack. And they had the floodgates open, and it was quite the headache, I will say. It was a little different fishing, but it's all right. The Tennessee River tail race bite will be turning on soon, and I cannot wait. I've been checking them every week, waiting on those brown fish to pull up.
Very cool. I plan on being at PK myself. Planned on fishing a tournament or two before then, but we're trying to buy another house. We lost a house. Now we're under contract on another house. Our house is sold. We're buying a house up near Roro, so that's all happening kind of fast. Actually, I think we're going to close on it after I get back from PK, like 2 days after.
Do you have a place to stay for PK yet? Because me and Dylan still have to book a house.
Back when the schedule got released, I reserved a hotel as a holding spot up whatever that town is up the road, but it's obviously cancelable. If you guys get a house, I'll jump in there with you.
We're going to find a nice trailer home, I would say, close to the ice house if I had to put money on it.
Let me know how that develops.
Are you going to Lake of the Ozarks? Elvis Lee wants to know.
Well, I was planning on it, except this house thing is happening.
Really
and I do have
a wrench in your plans. You got to have
somewhere
to live instead.
Yeah, I've got to pack our home and help my wife with like a moving sale and a lot of other things. So that may not happen.
All right.
Even though I really, really, really wanted to get there because I wanted to fish All American, that new format.
All right, we're at 87 entries. If anybody hadn't thrown it in, throw in the hashtag, like and share wherever you're watching from. Drop a comment on YouTube if you can. Would be fantastic.
Yep, here we go. We're doing this giveaway.
Let's do it.
The Vols going to win the title, Ryan? They going to make it happen?
No, but we'll probably get to the Elite Eight.
All right.
I would love to see him get to the Final Four, but
we've done it.
Gosh.
We've done it. We
have arrived.
We have made it. It was not
Top
rigged.
Shelf Fishing. Send me your info. I'm sending you and the last Z-Man winner over to Ryan Harder, and he'll ship out both those packages.
We've done it, Ryan.
I can't believe it. I cannot believe it. Slide in the DMs. Get me your shipping info. This is a momentous occasion.
It's a Twitch winner. The Twitcher has conquered all odds as being the only one on the stream, and he still won.
That may have been one of our highest giveaway entries, too. How many do we have? Like 89 or something?
Yeah, that was a lot.
Way to dominate. Way to dominate.
Yeah, man. That's cool. It makes me excited. I don't know why I'm like hyped about that. I'm excited.
I know, man. Well, because it proves that we're not showing favoritism. That's why.
Yeah, that's right. All right, man. Hey, we'll see everybody next week. Ryan, that was fun.
Yep. Sounds good. Later, y'all.